We'd like to acknowledge the support of our integrated Caris and CBC sponsors who make the Juno Awards possible: TD Bank Group, SiriusXM Canada, Freedom Mobile, Ford Canada, and TikTok. We couldn't do what we do without your support.
Hello and welcome to CBC Music in studio at the Junos, the Jazz Session. I'm Lila Bialy, host of Saturday Night Jazz on CBC Music, and also your host this evening. We are coming to you from downtown Toronto, which is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. Dish with One Spoon is a friendship treaty between the Anishinaabeg, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee people. It binds them to share the territory and protect the land. Treaties across the country invite all Canadians and newcomers into meaningful relationships with the First Peoples in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Wherever you are in the world, you can tune in to the 2021 Juno Awards on Sunday, June 6th. Watch live on CBC TV and CBC Gem, listen on CBC Radio 1 and CBC Music, and stream globally at cbcmusic.ca/Junos. The Jazz Awards are handed out Friday, June 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Good luck to all the nominees. We have an amazing hour of music ahead of us. CBC Music has put together an all-star band made up of some of the nation's top jazz artists. We are showcasing artists that recorded on 6 of the 15 albums nominated in the categories: Jazz Album of the Year Solo, Jazz Album of the Year Group, and Vocal Jazz Album of the Year. You'll hear music from our musical director, the legendary saxophonist Pat LaBarbera, drummer Larnell Lewis, bassist Andrew Downing, pianist Ilario Duran, percussionist Junior Santos, as well as saxophonist Kirk McDonald and singers Sami Jackson, Matt Dusk, and myself, Lila Bialy. These musicians are truly the pride of jazz in Canada. I know you could listen to them all day and all night, but we've got to fit them all in, so you'll hear one song from each of the nominees over the next hour. We begin with music from Ilario Duran. Ilario is a composer, arranger, and educator. He moved here from Cuba in 1998 and blends the worlds of Afro-Cuban, Latin, and Canadian jazz. Back in the 70s, Ilario was chosen to be the successor to Chucho Valdez in Cuba's most modern big band, a huge honor. And he has accompanied the likes of Dizzy Gillespie and Arturo Sandoval. These days, you'll also find him on faculty at Humber College, leading the next generation. Ilario has 7 Juno nominations, and he's already won twice. He played on Junior Santos's Juno-nominated album, Compambiche, and we'll hear that selection later on in the show. Ilario, thank you for being here today.
It's a pleasure being here.
Aww. Let's get straight to the music. Ilario Duran kicks things off with Trio Influenciado. That was incredible. Hilario Duran and Trio Influenciado. That was in the style of the Cuban standard Mambo Influenciado. He was joined by Andrew Downing on bass, Larnell Lewis on drums, Junior Santos on percussion, and Pat LaBarbera and Kirk McDonald on sax. This all-star band is now going to turn its attention to the music that brought our elder statesman here today. He also happens to be the band leader for this Juno Jazz Showcase. Pat LaBarbera got his start playing $5 gigs with his father and brothers back in the early 50s. He's traveled the world and supported so many of the greats: Count Basie, Glenn Miller, Gene Krupa, Ella Fitzgerald, Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder. The list goes on. He also spent 7 years with Buddy Rich, and here's a fun story. His first gig with Buddy brought him to Minneapolis so he could join the band, only to find out that gig was a birthday party for the Vice President of the United States, featuring none other than Frank Sinatra. Pat also worked with Elvin Jones, and when he was a kid, he'd sit and watch John Coltrane practice backstage. That's amazing. So many stories, so many lessons, and so many tips to pass along. Pat LaBarbera has also taught music for decades. He's influenced generations of musicians, even the gentleman standing beside him right here on this stage, Kirk McDonald, and myself. That's right, I was also one of Pat's students back in the day. Pat, thank you so much for being here. Pat is here along with Kirk, and you're both Juno nominated for the album you recorded together here in Toronto, Train of Thought Live at the Rex. Let me also introduce Kirk. Kirk McDonald has also played the biggest Canadian and international stages with some of the biggest names in jazz: Rosemary Clooney, Bob Mincer, Jack DeJohnette, Mike Stern, Dave Young, and more. He too has been an educator for about 30 years. Kirk proudly comes from Cape Breton Island. He's received numerous awards, including 7 Juno nominations and 2 wins. He has over 100 compositions to his name and has been a sideman on more than 40 recordings. Kirk, so great to have you here as well.
Thank you.
You two have been part of a residency at the Rex here in Toronto, a tribute around John Coltrane's birthday every year since 1992. That was the inspiration behind the album you're nominated for today, Train of Thought, live at the Rex. Tell us about the simpatico you've built up over the years you've played together.
Well, Kirk and I started this project years ago. It was something because when I had been working with Elvin, we used to play a lot of John Coltrane's tunes. So when I came back to Toronto, we decided and talked it over about putting a band together. It started out, I think, years ago at a club called The Pilot, and then we moved over to the Rex, and we've been at the Rex for years and years. I don't even know. I think it's 30, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think we're coming up on 30 years. 91 or 92 we started this project, and we finally gotten it recorded too, which is great.
That's so exciting. And now the million-dollar question: any chance you'll be back this, I guess it would be late September or early October, right? When's John Coltrane's birthday?
September 23rd, and there's been no talk about it, so we'll see. We'll see.
I know, fingers crossed, right?
Right.
For sure.
Well, we all have the album to enjoy now, which is so wonderful. You're going to share the song Naima, a John Coltrane composition. Tell us what we should listen for in your arrangement that's different from Coltrane's original.
Well, this arrangement is not, the song was originally written as a ballad. We're doing it as a slow kind of 8th note Latin feel. It's a kind of an idea I got from drummer Adam Nussbaum, who we work with quite a bit. Years ago I worked with Adam, and he mentioned, let's try doing it this way, and I've kind of done it this way ever since. So it's not a typical ballad, it's more of like a ballad Latin style.
Beautiful. We can't wait to hear it. Here's Pat LaBarbera and Kirk McDonald with your all-star band to perform Naima. So beautiful. One of my favorite jazz standards, Naima, performed there by Pat LaBarbera, Kirk McDonald, and your all-star band. Now we welcome your next featured performer to the stage for the Juno Jazz Showcase here at Glenn Gould's studio. Sami Jackson is a singer based just down the road from here in St. Catharines, Ontario. She's a first-time Juno nominee for her EP, With You. This album explores vulnerability, love, and relationships. It's definitely a jazz EP, but you'll also hear some pop and R&B influences in her soulful voice. Sami, welcome, and congratulations on the Juno nomination.
Thank you.
You're going to play the title track from your EP, With You. I understand this song grew out of feelings towards the man you now call your husband as you traveled across Canada together. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my husband and I, we traveled back in 2017 all the way to BC from Ontario in our car. And it was just a great trip. It was so wonderful to see, you know, the country. I had never been out west before, so it was an amazing time, and I feel like it strengthened our relationship, and it was the inspiration of this song and this album. So yeah, it was great to go there.
Beautiful. That amount of time in a car together can go either way, right?
Definitely.
All's well that ends well, as they say. And you're celebrating your first baby.
Yes.
So it's been a busy pandemic season for you.
Yes, it has been.
Yeah, you're such a beautiful songwriter. I have to ask the question, and I'm sure with motherhood you've been extremely busy, but have you found yourself creatively inspired by this new season in your life?
Definitely, yeah. There's definitely been a lot of, you know, challenges and a lot of beautiful moments. And yes, there has been a lot of inspiration.
We look forward to the fruit of that inspiration. This is Sami Jackson performing With You.
Follow my lead like we're on a new venture. It's you and just me. We can go where we want to. Gather your things, we can see what we find, and we'll follow your compass. Might lead us to something. Maybe we'll get lost, but what we might find will be more than what we came for. From the city where the lights never bring to the stars and the nights filled with stars. Drove past buildings that turned into trees. Now the forests are green and not gray. Let's have a nice day in Winnipeg and Sault Ste. Marie, Banff and Regina, Vancouver is kind of sweet. There is no place I'd rather be than exploring this country with you next to me. nights, never to the nights in the skies filled with stars. Drove past buildings that turn into trees. Now the forests are green and not gray. Let's have a nice day in Winnipeg and Sault Ste. Marie. Banff and Regina, Vancouver is kind of sweet. There is no place I'd rather be than exploring this country with you next to me. Winnipeg and Sault Ste. Marie, Banff and Regina, Vancouver is kind of sweet. There is no place I'd rather be than exploring this country with you next to me. In Winnipeg and Sault Ste. Marie, Banff and Regina, Vancouver is kind of sweet. There is no place I'd rather be than exploring this country with you next to me.
A beautiful song from Sami Jackson that was With You. Thank you, Sami. Our next featured performer on the Juno Jazz Showcase is among the many educators here on this stage. Andrew Downing is a 2-time Juno winner. He's also had an additional 3 Juno nods, and the breadth of his musical experience is represented by those nominations. He's toured and recorded with the Vancouver Roots Band, Zubot, and Dawson. And this year, Andrew is Juno nominated for Jazz Album of the Year Group as part of Florian Höfner's trio and their album First Spring. Andrew is extremely accomplished in the jazz world, but he also plays cello and is equally at home composing for classical chamber ensembles and playing in folk and roots bands. Andrew, congratulations to you and the Florian Höfner trio on your Juno nomination.
Thank you very much, Lila.
You're now going to perform one of Florian's arrangements, his take on the Armenian folk song Luzin Yelav. It's a song about the beauty of the rising moon. Can you tell us about your work with Florian and how you and his group have reimagined those old folk songs?
Sure. Well, Florian, with his trio, part of his motivation was to play some music that is not necessarily considered part of the jazz canon. So he would bring in these folk songs, and they were mostly arranged. He did a lot of work with Nick Fraser, the drummer, and I in mind, with our strengths and weaknesses, I guess, in mind. And he would bring in these tunes, and we would kind of just rehearse them, and they would morph and change as we played them more as we went on the road. And that's kind of our process.
I love it. So truly a collective.
Feels like it, yeah.
Speaking of which, so Florian, I think if I'm correct, he lives on the East Coast. You live here, and you lived here for many years. How did you two cross paths?
Well, Canada is a small country, it turns out, and Florian lives in Newfoundland, in St. John's, and he wanted to do a bunch of touring, and so we kind of played together a couple times, just with the idea of maybe forming a trio together, and that's how it started. Most of our work is on the road, so it kind of doesn't really matter that we live in the same city.
You can't wait to get back out there, I bet.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Here now to perform Luzin Yelav are Ilario Duran on piano, Larnell Lewis on drums, and Andrew Downing on bass.
So that was Andrew Downing performing Losing Ya Lev, a Florian Hofner arrangement featuring Hilario Durand and Larnell Lewis. Hi, I'm Pat LaBarbera, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to the music of the host of today's Juno Jazz Showcase and Saturday Night Jazz on CBC Music, Laila Bialy. Laila is an incredibly talented pianist, singer, and songwriter. This year, she is nominated for her 4th Juno for Vocal Jazz Album of the Year, a category she won in 2019. And her nomination this year is for her album, Out of Dust. Laila has headlined tours and festivals across 5 continents. She's also supported and toured with Sting, Paula Cole, and Suzanne Vega. Her style of music blends contemporary jazz with creative pop. Add in her subtle, soaring vocals, and you have an album that can make you laugh and cry. On a personal note, I've known Laila since she was a student at Humber College. Her gift of perfect pitch has kept more than one musician on their toes, me included. So I'm very honored to introduce Laila Bialy performing Sugar.
Because I'm all so tired, sugar, because I'm uninspired, sugar, because it works so fast, sugar so sweet, it's gonna help me last. Sugar, because it didn't plan, sugar, to help me understand, sugar, so I can make it through, sugar tastes sweeter when I'm missing. Because I'm also sad, sugar, because I feel so bad, sugar, so I can just forget, sugar, because my mind is sick, sugar, because I'm lonely still, sugar, cause there's a hole to fill, sugar, because it don't cost much, sugar so sweet, it's like a human touch. On my brain, sugar, when I give you those shades, sugar, because you disapprove, sugar so sweet it's gonna help me move, sugar, because you comfort me, sugar, you know you set me free, sugar, when I give you the leg, sugar so sweet when you don't look back. Sugar my friend, sugar my foe, sugar my fast, sugar my slow, sugar my high, sugar my low, sugar my stop, sugar my go, sugar my good, sugar my bad, sugar my joy, sugar my sad, sugar my anthem, sugar my flag. Sugar my friend, sugar my foe, sugar my fast, sugar my slow, sugar my high, sugar my low, sugar my stop, sugar my go, sugar my good, sugar my bad, sugar my joy, sugar my sad, sugar my anthem, sugar my flag. Sugar my friend, sugar my foe, sugar my fast, sugar my slow, sugar my high, sugar my low, sugar my good, sugar my bad, sugar my joy, sugar my sad, sugar my anthem, sugar my flag. All right, thank you. That was fun. And thanks, Pat, for that lovely introduction. I'd like to take a minute now to highlight another amazing musician here on this stage, the world-class drummer, Larnell Lewis. Larnell is a master at adding flavor and dynamics to any song. Larnell is fully aware of just how much he can push and encourage other musicians to do what they do on stage. That's his role as a drummer. And I can tell you from experience, it's 100% true. Larnell has won 2 Grammy Awards for his jaw-dropping performances with the jazz fusion group Snarky Puppy. He was also Juno nominated for his 2018 album, In the Moment. He's played with countless greats, Pat Metheny, John Scofield, Fred Hammond, Gregory Porter, Lisa Fisher, and many more. Larnell has also worked with many of Canada's finest, including Molly Johnson, Johnny Reid, Divine Brown, and Matt Dusk. I've also been very fortunate to make music with Larnell myself for almost 15 years now, and he played on the album I'm nominated for this year. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
It's an absolute pleasure to play with you and to have you here to support all the artists in this showcase. So Larnell, you have been, prior to pandemic, you were touring so much with Snarky Puppy and other projects, but especially Snarky Puppy. And so I'm just curious to know if there have been any pandemic silver linings.
Absolutely. Getting a chance to spend time with my kids has been amazing. Watching them grow and, being with my wife, Joy, and just being able to just reconnect with, the important things.
Yes. Amen. I'm Lila Bialy. Thank you for being with us. Just a quick reminder that wherever you are in the world, you can tune in to the 2021 Juno Awards, watch live on CBC TV and CBC Gem, listen on CBC Radio 1 and CBC Music, and stream globally at cbcmusic.ca/Junos. Let's now welcome Matt Dusk to the stage here at the Juno Jazz Showcase live from Glenn Gould's studio. Matt is a multi-award-winning, platinum-selling singer. He's been weaving his way through the golden age of the great American songbook since he began, from his debut album, Two Shots, a record that throws back to the Rat Pack era, right up to his latest Juno-nominated project, his 5th nomination, Sinatra. This album was Matt's chance to record songs he's performed for the last 25 years. They're all classic standards you might already be familiar with, so feel free to sing along from home. Matt, thanks for being here today.
Awesome to be here.
You recorded this album with 13 horns and a 4-piece rhythm section, live off the floor, all in one day. Yeah. That must have been such a thrill, like a live show in real time. What was that day like for you?
It was interesting because when we were thinking about putting this record together, we said, how many songs can we actually record in a day? So we brought in 8 charts, but we had another 8 to go. And after 7 hours, these guys were so on, including Pat LaBarbera here in the band. every song went down. It was a musical moment that I have waited my whole life for, and we recorded 17 songs in 7 hours. These guys were just phenomenal, and a kudos to Pat and the band.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So as a singer,
Yeah.
I have to ask you, did you recut any of them, or were they one take each?
So
or?
singing for 7 hours is kind of tough.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the break, there's a little scotch going around. So the last two vocals I recut, but it was a memory that I'll never, ever forget.
I love it. You got to keep those vocal cords lubricated, right, Matt? Yeah. All right. Now you're going to hear a George Gershwin tune with lyrics by his brother, Ira. It's a song recorded by many greats over the years, including Fred Astaire and twice by Frank Sinatra. Here's Matt Dusk to perform They Can't Take That Away From Me.
We may never, never meet again on that bumpy road to love. But still the memory, I'll always keep it right here above. The way you wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. No, no, they can't take that away from me. The way your smile just beams, how we sing off key, the way you haunt my dreams. No, no, they can't take that away from me. We may never, never meet again on that bumpy road to love. Still I'll always keep the memory of the way you hold your knife, how we danced till 3, how you've changed my life. No, no, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that away. No, 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 no. They can't take that away from me.
Stay with us for a moment, Matt. That was they can't take that away from me. They're not going to take him away from us. That was Matt Dusk. Matt, you are another touring machine, and you were actually supposed to be in Poland right now on tour. And I'm just curious if you have a fun story from the road you might share with us.
Oh my God, which one? The ones where we never made it back in time for the tour bus to take us away to Spain? That's another story, but what happens on the road stays on the road. We don't want to get in any trouble with our wives.
Do you have a story, though? A little story you might be willing to share?
I think one of my best stories is it was a few years ago, and we were performing in, I believe it was Germany, and it was right at around where this massive snowstorm hit. And at the evening before, we were playing in France, and we were in Paris, and we found out that we needed to get home for Christmas, but Charles de Gaulle was closed because of 2 inches of snow. So we went to go to the ticket counter. We found out that it was near impossible to fly out of Charles de Gaulle. So the band and I decided to take a taxi from Paris to Frankfurt.
In a snowstorm?
In a snowstorm for a very good deal of 2,500 euros. But the good news is we did get home for our families for Christmas, and it doesn't matter. It was worth it.
See, and now you're in their good books forever.
Yeah, and they got to pay us back for it, too. That was a lot of money.
Thank you so much. That's Matt Dusk.
Thank you very much, Lila.
We are nearing the end of this Juno Jazz Showcase. Our final performer today is nominated in the category Jazz Album of the Year Solo. Junior Santos is from Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic, but he came to Canada long ago, back in 1989. It was a very good year. On his album, Con Pambiche, Junior fuses jazz with pambiche. Pambiche is a slower style of merengue that came from the Dominican Republic during the American invasion of 1916 to 1924. American soldiers were often called Pambiche, the Spanishization of the American city Palm Beach. Those soldiers had a tough time keeping up with the fast tempo merengue, so the musicians adjusted and slowed things down for the dancing soldiers. That became known as Pambiche. Junior's music is also inspired by his love of jazz fusion. When he was a teenager, before the internet was a thing, he would religiously listen to his one local radio station at lunchtime. There he heard the music of legends like Steve Gadd, Chick Corea, the Yellow Jackets, and Spyro Gyra. Junior, so great to have you here to close out the show. Oh, there you are.
It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you. This is your first Juno nomination, and I understand it really means a lot to you. Over the years, you've transitioned in and out of the music industry, and I can only imagine what that's been like. Can you tell us a bit more about why this nomination is so special?
Well, it's really special because, like you say, I've been in and out of the music business, and I'm getting a little bit emotional right now because, you know, it hit me hard, and it's great that I left the music business to, you know, to concentrate with my family, you know, and you know, this is being a blessing when I came back now, and you know, my music being recognized by the Juno is amazing. Sorry, but I'm very sensitive, so
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We can see that it means a lot to you.
It does. It does.
And now I have to ask you, this is such a beautiful percussion instrument you're playing. What drew you to the tambora?
Well, this was the very first instrument that I learned. My dad in the Dominican, Ramon Santo, he's a piano player. He has a band. And when I was a kid, he wanted me to play the piano, but I wanted to hit this thing. That's when I was a little kid. So I was always very shy. So when they finished rehearsal, I always grabbed the instrument and I just started like playing on it, and it's a lovely instrument. I love it. I love to play this instrument.
How would you play it when you were small? Because it's pretty large. So would you just place it on the ground, or how would you get around it?
Yeah, I just put it in the table, or maybe in top of the conga, or whatever it was available over there, you know, and I just go at it.
I love it. I love it. We're so thrilled to have you here. And congratulations again, Junior. The nomination is well deserved.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, let's hear you play that tambora, a traditional instrument of merengue and pambiche. Here's Junior with his composition, Tambora Blues. That's all the time we have for tonight's Juno Jazz Showcase. I'd like to thank all the musicians here. Junior Santos on tambora, Hilario Duran on piano, Andrew Downing on bass, Larnell Lewis on drums, vocalists Sami Jackson and Matt Dusk, Kirk McDonald on sax, and wearing two hats today, the saxophonist and our fearless bandleader, Pat LaBarbera. Wherever you are in the world, you can tune into the 2021 Juno Awards, watch live on CBC TV and CBC Gem, listen on CBC Radio 1 and CBC Music, or stream globally at cbcmusic.ca/Junos. A great big thank you to the production team and technical crew here at the Glenn Gould Studio. I'm Lila Bialy. I'm so glad you could be here.